Welcome to People and Profit, your essential business briefing. This week, we're delving into the world of cryptocurrencies. Coming up, has the Bitcoin bubble burst? Prices are down more than 50% this year, but could they recover? Despite the price volatility, new cryptocurrencies are still being launched. We'll look at the market for initial coin offerings. And we'll take you to the Alpine village experiencing a new gold rush, thanks to digital currency mining. Now, for some, they're a sham, but others see them as the future of money. Cryptocurrencies, and most famously Bitcoin, have been in the headlines for years now, and they've divided opinions among investors. Part of that is because of the huge swings in price. More on that in a moment, but let's start by reminding ourselves exactly what Bitcoin is. Here's Kate Moody.
Bitcoin is often described as 21st century gold. It's a digital or cryptocurrency that only exists in the virtual world. It was created in 2009 by an unknown programmer or group of them using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. The idea was to cut out middlemen like banks or credit card companies and create a peer-to-peer payment system, allowing users to pay each other directly. A Bitcoin is released by mining, solving complex algorithms or math problems, and then bought and sold on online exchanges. A record of each Bitcoin transaction is kept in the blockchain, a shared public ledger that confirms and charts how the currency is being used. Users keep their own stash of Bitcoins in a digital wallet. There's no central bank or oversight, and Bitcoin's value is negotiated by the people who use it. That means the price soars as demand rises, but tends to drop when platforms experience security breaches. Just like solid gold, there is a limit. Only 21 million Bitcoins can ultimately be mined and enter circulation.
So those are the basics for Bitcoin. Let's talk a little bit more about the investment side of it. From London, I'm joined by Naeem Aslam as Chief Market Analyst with the brokerage Think Markets. You've also got a special platform that deals with cryptocurrencies called Think Coin. And Naeem, thanks very much for being with us. Do you think the bubble is over for cryptocurrencies? Are you optimistic that those prices could come back up?
Thanks for having me. I do certainly think, but having said that, you have to bear in mind that the 99% of the projects in this space would fail just because there is just too much concentration of these projects, and then they're all trying to address the same thing, not having the right team behind them or the advisors. But to answer the question of a bubble, I think the bubble already burst. Perhaps towards the start of this year in January, and now by looking at the price of a Bitcoin, you can clearly see that we are sitting at nearly 6,000, and perhaps a break below the 6,000 is also on the card as well. So I think now we are just in the process of forming the bottom before we see that another rally.
So when should we kind of expect to see stability, do you think, in this market, or is it too early to ask that question?
I think the key word that you used over there is the stability. So the stability element is already there, because if you look at the average true range, which is by definition, it is like how many points or how many dollars the currency is moving every day, you can clearly see for Bitcoin that those large moves over $1,000 a day, they are no longer there. Now we are trading in a very narrow range, so between $200 to $300 a day. So Bitcoin is not an animal which was used for this kind of volatility, so the volatility is already subdued.
Does that mean that investors can trust this then as something to put their money in if we're reaching this sort of level?
I think, look, Bitcoin is a religion. So that answers the questions of trust. So if you understand the technology, if you understand that how internet has changed the entire space, then that answers your question if you're talking about the understanding of that. Whether we have really formed the bottom, it is really difficult. I think we are there in terms of forming the bottom, and there are more chances for the upside move rather than for the downside.
OK, Naeem, stay with us. For many investors and regulators, Bitcoin is still considered a risky place to put their money. While some people are getting rich, others have been burned, as Ellen Gainsford now reports.
Bitcoin may seem like an easy way to get rich with a few clicks, but some investors have found the cryptocurrency has its drawbacks. This business student thought he'd try his luck, but after just a few weeks, his investment had plummeted.
I bought 200 euros worth of Bitcoin and paid handling fees, so that's 205 euros. Now they're worth $50. That's around 45 euros.
Bitcoin's value can be more volatile than traditional investments. Over the past year, it's plummeted from a high of almost $20,000 for a Bitcoin last December to around $6,000 a Bitcoin. The cryptocurrency has no central authority controlling it and isn't backed by a government.
When you invest by buying shares or bonds, by putting your savings in the bank, you're funding the economy. When you buy Bitcoin, you aren't funding anything, and you're taking a huge risk.
Bitcoin's critics have also highlighted its use in criminal activity. By bypassing the traditional banking system, transfers of Bitcoin can be untraceable.
Before, people who were engaging in criminal financial activity could only use cash. It was the only way to pay without leaving a trace. Now we've given them a solution that's cheaper and more efficient.
The first digital currency, Bitcoin, is less than a decade old, so it's difficult to predict how the market will evolve. Investors are in uncharted territory.
OK, well, Naeem Assam from Think Markets is still with us from London. Regulation is one of the big questions that comes up around Bitcoin. What sort of regulation does it need?
Well, I think we are already there in terms of a regulation. I think one key area where regulators need to make sure is fully covered is exchanges. Because I can certainly say Bitcoin equals trust. And it means that blockchain technology cannot be broken or nothing can be stolen from it. But if exchanges are not using the top-notch securities at their end, and we continuously see this theft of millions and millions of Bitcoin or the US dollars from these exchanges, then certainly there is a big trouble. So regulators should be extremely tough when it comes to the exchanges. That is the key area which needs to be addressed.
And I suppose, how do you calm the fears that there are in some markets? We know that, for example, India has almost entirely banned participation in cryptocurrencies by lenders. Is there a way to convince those sort of regulators to allow more trading in Bitcoin?
By just banning trading is not the answer, because this is a technology which everyone needs to adopt. And then for any other technology, there are 3 stages to them. First is a denial stage, where you say that, okay, this is nothing but a money laundering. The second is testing. And as you would know, that there is an enormous amount of work done by the European Parliament and by the different regulators over in Europe and also in Asia as well. So we have the approaches such as Sandbox, where there's a very controlled environment for doing different experiments for the new startups. So in order to innovate, to bring that ICO process even further. So I think that is the right sort of an approach, rather than just going for all together that, okay, we're going to ban it and we're just not going to let it happen. That would completely destroy the innovation part of that technology.
We do talk a lot about Bitcoin, but there are, of course, lots of other cryptocurrencies, lots of initial coin offerings happening. Why do you think the interest is still there in that sector?
Yes, I think that the main area is, so like you said, there are so many different coins, right? But the area where you need to see is any coins which are trying to address scalability, efficiency areas, and the coins where they are trying to work with the regulators. Here is an example, a coin called XREBA, a project where, if on my white paper, so basically a white paper is something where I will say that how much money I'm going to raise and then how I'm going to put that money in terms of my investment. They are making sure that how you are saying that is how your money is spent. A project which is going to work very closely with the regulators, because when regulators are going to come down and then they're going to say that, okay, how have you invested your money? This is what you said in the paper. Have you done it? So this is these kind of technologies which are working with the regulators, which will provide more black and white situations and proofs for the regulators that are going to work really well. There are so many different projects. I think exchanges are also equally very, very important. And The exchanges which are working with the regulators, making sure that they are solving the scalability and the efficiency use, such as Trade.io or several different exchanges within the area, will do really well.
Okay, so the message, I suppose, to investors is to do your homework, like with any investment, before putting your money into something. Naeem Aslam, Chief Market Analyst with Think Markets, thank you very much for joining us from London.
Thank you.
Well, the crypto craze has reached some unlikely places, even an isolated village on the Swiss-Italian border. People in Gondo once made their living from gold mining. Now they're mining digital coins. Julia Kim has more.
The gold rush may have ended in Gondo a century ago, but these days the tiny Swiss village is welcoming a new generation of miners. Ludovic Thomas is the CEO of Alpine blockchain, and this is his mine. A 96 square meter bunker in a secret location, filled with hundreds of graphics cards, the equivalent of 150 computers. They're working furiously to calculate the ever more complex blockchain algorithms needed to collect encrypted digital coin units, which is the foundation of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. When Thomas approached the village with the idea, authorities were perplexed.
The first question we received was, we want to operate a blockchain facility here, and I'd never heard the word blockchain before. I had to Google it.
Lured by cheap hydropower and the crisp mountain climate, the tech startup chose Gondo to save on cooling costs. But in a village of just 50 people, with no school, shop or bakery, the community is grateful for their presence. For the past 2 decades, Gondo has struggled to survive, following a deadly landslide in 2000 and the departure of key employers.
The people of Gondo are especially happy to see young people, to see new life in the village. Personally, when we first met the municipal employees, they honestly told us that this village does not have a future.
It may no longer be sitting on a gold mine, but Gondo's cryptocurrency rush could still be worth its weight in gold.
That's it from us for this week, but you can send us your thoughts or questions about cryptocurrencies. You'll find us on Facebook at France 24 Business, or you can tweet me at NewStephen. Until next time, thanks for watching.
For weeks now, Nicaragua has seen violent confrontations on its streets. On the road to Masaya, the rebel stronghold, walls are covered with anti-Ortega graffiti. Determined to topple the president, young protesters erect new barricades every day.
The fact that he's attacked unarmed students, sent thugs out against us while we were just protesting, that's so unfair. That was the trigger for all of this. It's sad because so many people believed in him.
In a moving report from deep inside Nicaragua, our journalists met protesters and their families who say they are fighting without weapons or supplies.
Reporters presented by Mark Owen on France 24 and France24.com.